Have to go and drive me so
Welcome,
crazy.
everyone. This is
Now feeling lost
Podcast
without you,
Batching
and I
Day,
just
and we have
can't
our final
be.
guest of the day, John
Without
Bellamy.
you,
Then hang on in.
baby, want you all night
Yes,
long. Want
Potter.
you all night long. Tell me, why'd you have to go and drive me so crazy? Now feeling lost without you, and I just can't be. Without you, baby, want you all night long. Want you all night long. Want you all night. 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 Tell me, why'd you have to go and drive me so crazy? Now feeling lost without you, and I just can't be. Without you, baby, want you all night long. Want you all night long. Baby, now I'm feeling lost without you, and I just can't be. Without you, baby, want you all night long. Want you all night long. Give me all your love, baby, give me all your love. Baby, give me all your love, all your love, all your love. Give me all your love, baby, give me all your love. Baby, give me all your love, all your love, all your love. Tell me, why'd you have to go and drive me so crazy? Now I'm feeling lost without you, and I just can't be. Without you, baby, want you all night long. Want you all night long.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to Podcast Batching Day. I'm Sally Sparks Cousins, your host, and we've had a couple of great guests on today. We're finishing off with John Bellamy. It's pretty exciting, but if you missed today's guest lineup, we had Roger Coles all the way from America, the most awesome Keep certified Canva expert who dances and sings and makes all the cool things. Oh, I think I did that. And next up, we have John, who is our LinkedIn guru. And, you know, he's got a special place in the Sparkle world as well, helping out all our clients. Now, if you don't want to miss any of our live events, then make sure you do register for Dr. Sparkle, because she'll send you notifications to let you know when we are live. So there she is dancing around. And if you also want to see all events outside of the live podcast Batching Day, you can subscribe to the calendar or just subscribe to YouTube, because everything gets broadcast here. So hit that subscribe button and the little bell button so that you can get the notifications. Hi, I'm Sally. I'm your host of Sparkle Class Academy. Straight Talk with Sally. That's where we're at today. And it's been an awesome podcast Batching Day. And it's quite warm here where I am right now. So I'm looking forward to a cold shower after this. But our guest today is a Keep certified partner. He is a direct response marketer. He actively works with small businesses and helps them fix up their follow-up systems and close more deals by implementing better marketing, sales systems, automation. Yes, that's my jam. And you will most often find him hanging out over on LinkedIn. Fact is, most small business owners do truly struggle to generate consistency and profitability and returns when it comes to their marketing and advertising efforts. And John is a master at this. He speaks at lots of different events, and he has a consultancy agency, an inner circle club program, and he loves to help small business owners to really gain clarity and confidence so that they can run better businesses and make better decisions. And he would love to connect with anybody out there because he loves to connect over on LinkedIn. But let's have a chat with today's guest, John Bellamy, the man himself. Hello, John. Yeah, drum roll.
Hey.
I need to be at home with all my sound effects. I feel like I need
I
to give you
know.
like a cheer. Hang on, here we go. Here it is. Right. Good.
Hey, Sally.
Hey, John.
That was for my dancing. That was
Yes.
for my dancing, clearly.
I know you were going, "No, that's for you, Robin," apparently, that dance move. He was getting on down. I'm so sad I missed you in Melbourne, but we crossed paths, I think, on the plane ride.
Yeah,
Heading
probably.
down. I think I'm going to have to take you out dancing next time we're in the same city together because
Oh,
you got
yeah.
moves, man.
Yeah, they're few and far between. Yeah.
So, like today, we're going to be talking about how to leverage LinkedIn to grow your business. But before we get into that, let's share with the audience what it is, like what you've done, how you've gotten here, a little bit of, backstory to the man,
Yeah.
John himself.
Yeah, cool. So just the average guy, right, who went to school, tested out that university garbage and dropped out of that pretty quick, smart, in a hurry, and went to work, started knocking on doors, and was lucky enough to knock on the right door, which led me into starting a career with a company called Selmat back in the day. They were the largest letterbox, B2B letterbox distribution company in Australasia. So that was fantastic. So Anne McKecken, if you're out there listening to this, thank you for thinking of me there. And yeah, went from Selmat, which was fantastic business at the time, and stayed in corporate, transitioned into recruitment, and was lucky to work in the recruitment space with Drake International and Bill Pollock, who is the grandfather of recruitment. He's an amazing man, and spent a lot of time with Bill himself, and just fantastic mentor. And the rest, if you like, is history. I left recruitment and I need to go and do this entrepreneurial stuff, and failed a bunch of times, but never gave up, and did a lot of like what we spoke about, the follow up, right? Knocking on the doors and following up, and not in a way that's annoying. It's the follow up for the ones that that you can go and help. And yeah, so that's where I landed on LinkedIn. Had when it came in Australia, and had a bunch of business cards in the old Rolodex, and had a couple of glasses of wine one weekend, and started digitizing connections, and then made some money. And then people are like, "John, how did you make money?" And let me show you. How much do you want to pay? So yeah, that's what we do. And now I get to travel and speak and do all of those wonderful things, and help heaps of small businesses leverage platforms like LinkedIn to really uplift their brand, their awareness, their connections, and their sales.
Well, you always have great photos of beaches and relaxation and a bit of mindfulness going on.
Love the beach.
I know. I'm always stalking you over on Instagram, seeing what you're up to, because you do live a lovely lifestyle. Because you've, like a lot of entrepreneurs, they want to create a business that allows them the freedom to travel, and you do a lot of that as well.
Yeah.
It's pretty great, right, that we can do this as long as we've got an internet connection. We can usually work. So.
Yeah, that's exactly right, and it always cracks me up that people, like, they'll see photos and they go, "You don't work," and I'm like, "Well, when you're sleeping at 2 or 3 in the morning, I'm usually on a podcast interview or on a sales call or something like that with the US, or it's funny, people's perceptions, but I think it's slowly starting to change, and I think that, like, if we talk mindset for a minute, like, that was a shift for me around about 10, 12 years ago, maybe a couple of extra years, yeah. Around that, where I was doing the normal thing that most people do. You got to go get a job, buy a house, do all of that, and got divorced and did all of those things. And through that journey, you're discovering yourself and what's your real purpose? What do you want to be here for, and all of that. And for me, I loved being close to the water, so it was a matter of going, how can I live the holiday? And myself and my partner Rebecca, like, we always talk about this, like, we'll sit in our pool, which is just 30 meters from the beach, sit in the pool, and and on the weekend we live in like a resort complex, so there's a lot of holiday makers up here, and we're like, you see their angry and sorry faces on Sunday when they have to go back to reality, and we're like, man, we're living the holiday, and that's not to go brag, look at me or anything like that. It's to share, like, when you like, is it easy? No. Is it a tough decision? Of course it is. Does it require work and effort and all of those things? 100%. But so does being miserable.
Yeah.
That requires all of those things as well. So if I want to be happy, I'm just going to make different choices. And there's the pros and cons with all of them. So that's what we do. We rent where we want to live. We live in an amazing part of the world, and we invest elsewhere. So yeah, and business gives us that ability, the
Oh,
cash flow, to be able to make those choices. So
yes.
yeah, so I love it. Yeah.
So good. Well said. I love that. Yeah, that's what business does. It is hard. And there is time for hustle as well in business. There are times when, like, I know hustle was a key word years ago, and then everyone was anti hustle. And
Yeah.
I think as business owners, we do still need to learn how to hustle, but also business, when you set it up well, like you and I, we both have systems in place that help us
Hmm.
to support our businesses. And it gives us so much more choice. Like,
Yeah.
we work harder than most people will work in order to have things that most people won't
Yeah.
get. But I guess that's why so many people fail in the first few years of business, is because of the hard work, and you've got to
Yeah.
have the belief before you actually get the thing. I think is massive. Um, like,
Yeah.
you are
We could
all
talk about
like,
that for days,
we
right?
could, you and I mindset, and I think that's why we get on so well, is we're not scared to talk about the feelings and things like that. And you
Yeah.
love to show me your crystals on your bench, so
Yeah.
you know.
My little crystal next to my money, because they go hand in hand. Yeah.
It's so awesome.
Yes, that
Um,
was a Trump. That was a Trump pin, just for anybody
oh,
who
was
wants to
it?
know. Yeah. Yeah.
So we're here today to actually talk about LinkedIn, and I've seen the sorts of success that you've created for your clients using LinkedIn. And if anyone knows me, I love automation. So when we brought John in to actually be an expert inside of our community, the most exciting part about LinkedIn to me was the automation component that John could help me do, because I did used to do the hard yards in LinkedIn, the
Yeah. We
manual
all did, right?
thing, right? And then I look back and I think, wow, what you're doing for me is now working in the background, and I just talk to the people that are interested.
Yeah.
But what would you say are some really effective ways for people to build a network using LinkedIn so that they can really expand their reach?
Yeah. So I think the big thing, first of all, is the strategy and the willingness to actually follow people up, right? And I say that candidly and also very seriously, because the amount of people that you speak to where they go, oh, LinkedIn's crap, people just spam you all day, or blah 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 blah. It's because they don't know what they're doing, right? And it's no different to sending an email out. It's no different to knocking on doors. It's no different to picking up the phone, to going to a networking event. As business owners, as salespeople, whatever, if you're in that client-facing role, your job is to generate inquiry. Now, there's a difference between connecting with somebody and saying, buy my crap, versus like connecting with them actually with intention. And like Sally, exactly like you're doing, you've got the connection request. The next message is like, hey, great to connect. Here's a quick video that shares a little bit more about me, and how I think we can learn from each other, how we can get some benefit from the connection, all of that. I think it's like about your 10th message that you then ask them to do something. Like, other than, hey, here's a podcast that you might want to check out, or a video, it's like, hey, if you want to have a chat, maybe let's have a chat. So it's that, for me, it's that strategy and that intention of why you were on there and what you want to be doing. But most importantly, it's the follow up. If you're just sending connection requests, like watching The Secret and doing nothing, and expecting everything to fall into your lap, you're kidding yourself. And it's straight talk with Sally, right? So we've got to be straight.
For sure.
Yeah. So you've really got to come in, and whether you're speaking with somebody like me or somebody else who handles LinkedIn, you've really got to come in and go, what is my strategy on LinkedIn? What am I looking to generate from it? And probably then overarching all of that, does the math work? Because if the math doesn't work, return on time, return on effort, return on technology, all of those things, if it doesn't work, why are we on the platform?
Yeah.
And it works differently for everybody, right? Like, as you know, I was in Melbourne, so one of our clients in Melbourne, it was actually really nice at lunchtime. They'd said, "Hey, John, from one campaign targeting one company, we have now generated $2.2 million in sales."
Wow.
Yeah,
Right.
and they've been with us now for about 18 months.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Mm.
and that's from one campaign. They've got
Yeah.
probably 30 of them, right, on LinkedIn that we're running. So it's one campaign, 2.2 million. I jumped off a call literally, 40 minutes ago from here with one of our clients in the US, and they're like, "Hey, John, I've just got the sign. We're just sending them the order form now. That one deal is going to cover your entire fees for the next 18 months." But it's the once again, they've connected with somebody, someone's asked the question, they've followed them up, you know.
Yeah. I mean, the
Yeah,
fortune
so
really is in the follow up because,
yeah.
yeah, I mean, I've started using your system and already I've made quite a few really great connections and referrals of people who I ended up having a conversation with, and they weren't the right fit for exactly what it is that I sell, but they know people who do.
Yeah.
And then also I know people that they would be of interest to. So we've been able to share each other's information around. And when you're open to that type of
Mhm.
communication on LinkedIn, I mean, we do
Yeah.
get the, oh, I'm sick of seeing these things. Well, it's
Open up
marketing, man.
Facebook, open up your email, open up your phone, like
I
it's
know. We
all
were in the
around
car
us.
yesterday and Jackie's like, why do I keep getting these text messages from everyone? I go,
Yeah.
it's marketing, babe. It's
Yeah.
marketing,
I
right?
was at Melbourne Airport. Telstra's messaging me going, "It looks like you're going overseas," because it's the one airport or whatever. And
Yeah.
I'm like, "I'm not," but bang, it's like it's on, it's triggered. They're like, "Bang, we're there," and I'm like, "Well, I'm not," but I'll just ignore it. You know.
Yeah. And look, I do get messages from people and they're not my ideal client. Oh, no,
Hmm.
sorry. I'm not their ideal client, but I see them messaging me. And because I'm in marketing, I'm not like, oh, you're a horrible person, rah, rah, and get
You're
out the
doing your
angry
job.
fingers. Yeah,
Yeah.
getting out the angry fingers and being a keyboard warrior. I'll reply to them and I'll say, thank you for the information. It's not right for me, but good luck. I hope you get the next one.
Yeah,
Right?
yeah.
Like,
I do a similar thing, Sally. Like for me, usually what I'll do, like if I know it's a marketer that's coming through, I won't respond. I want to see if they do the follow up, and then if they follow me up once,
I love
twice, or
it.
three times,
Yeah.
and I'm trying the pro QNet guys, the finance guys, like that's what happened. He followed me. He had a good process. He connected with me. Whether we people like the company or not, I've never worked with him, so I don't know. But he connected with me on LinkedIn. I got an email. I got a phone call. I got another LinkedIn message, another email. It was like 4 or 5 touch points over the space of like 3 or 4 weeks. And then I was like, I'm going to reply. And I was like, hey, mate, exactly what you said. I'm like, this isn't for me just because the way that we structure our payments and everything, I didn't need what he was offering. But I'm like, I probably know like 10 companies that you can go and speak to.
Mm.
Um, do you want me to refer? And this is like, I was in Melbourne the last few days. We're at the Accountancy Business Expo. I met so many people there where we will probably, once again, we will probably never, ever transact
Yeah.
just for whatever reason. They're not the right fit, not for us, blah, blah, blah. They do something completely different. But through my network, because I know who is in my network, because I've been laser focused and targeted in building it, I'm like, actually, would this type of introduction be really good for you? And they're like, yeah. And you're like, oh, cool. Well, let me make the connect. And they're like, are you open to doing that? I'm like, of course I am. Like, if that's going to help you out, like, I don't know what you can do for me, if anything, but if I can help connect you guys up and you get a win out of it, like, surely you're going to think of me at a higher light. You're probably going to remember me. Maybe you won't.
Yeah.
But it's that energetic perspective is it's a
Yeah.
positive outcome. I think
Good
I'm helping
karma.
small business. Yeah,
Paying
yeah,
it forward,
and
right? You don't have
yeah,
to get the money from that person. It'll come back in other ways because you're focused
yeah,
on helping people, not
yeah.
on getting the next person. I love how you like to watch their follow up. I love to hack their messages.
Yeah.
Sometimes I will play along to see how they write and how they pitch and, the transition to the offer. So, yeah, a little bit like with the telesales people,
Yeah.
sometimes I'll play along just to see where they go, if it's a good telesales person, not just, some random person who's ringing. But yeah, I love to hack people's funnels and see how they're messaging. But I love that
Yeah.
you're, watching the follow ups as well, because I mean, that's a huge focus, especially in LinkedIn. It's so important for them to keep seeing you because, sure, we get bombarded with lots of messages, but who's
Hmm.
actually coming back to you and
Yeah.
sending those additional messages? Because,
Yeah.
yeah, we've got how many messages that are automated? I mean, it hands over,
In
but
Yeah, in yours, I think we're at, I think it's like 15, something
yeah,
like that off the top of my head, something like
yep,
that. And that would go out over probably the space of like 4 to 5
yeah, four to
months,
five
something
months,
along
yep.
those lines. And for those of you listening at home, which is everybody outside of myself and Sally, yeah, so those messages just like there's 15 or so that are automated, but the only way that somebody is going to receive all of those messages is if they don't interact, right? And you'll typically get somewhere between 7 and 15% over time that will actually interact with those messages. And once they interact, and this is I suppose the difference between like the tech that we use versus some of the other things out there. Once somebody responds to a message, the rest of the campaign is stopped unless you physically put them back into it. It's like, I know we're like both you and I, Sally, from a Keep perspective, right? And Clayt, who's the founder CEO of Keep, he always talks about if all we can do as marketing people is help small businesses fix their follow up, like for me, that is just such a massive generational change, right? And what he's talking about there is exactly what we're talking about. It's that segmentation. It's fixing it so that if someone does engage in a message, you don't want them to receive every other bloody message that's going through there because it makes you look incompetent. You lose a bit of that brand equity, that trust, all of those little bits and pieces. And it's the same with like LinkedIn. Yeah, so I know I'm harping on about that, but it's so clear because people just think, oh, I'll go to Chat GPT, write me a 15-part LinkedIn connection campaign and hit go. And it doesn't sound like you. The content is rubbish unless you know what you're doing. And because you're just using a VA or doing it yourself and copying and pasting, there's no substance behind it. There's no strategy. You don't really know what you're doing. You're flying blind. It'd be like putting me in a fighter jet. I'd be like, oh, which button
Which
is it?
button?
The any key? Yeah, yeah. Like, yeah. So, yeah,
Yeah, and I mean the way that you helped me build out this campaign, it does have a lot of personality, right? Even though it's
yeah,
an automation, it has personality. It's sharing and it's giving really great content along the way. And then, yeah, once some people go, oh, wow, I like the content. I like what you're sharing, not, hey, buy my shit.
yeah,
They message and then we message them back. We read the message that they have taken their time to type. We take a little bit of our time to read it and reply authentically to them.
yeah,
And that's how we connect with them much easier than just these automated, like non-personal replies. So whenever we reply, we always refer back to whatever they've said. So
hmm,
it is personal because it
yeah,
isn't just, copy and paste. And you can really tell those people that do hire people to just DM people, right?
yeah.
And they just don't know how to have that conversation backwards and forwards because it's just a copy and paste thing.
Yeah, and I think once again it's one of those things because there's like for those once again thinking about that, you definitely can have somebody on your team manage that whole process for you. You just need to make sure that they're educated and they
Mm.
understand like the language. It'd be like Sally, I'll use you as a perfect example. Imagine if those messages were like, "Hi, I am Sally. I'm major corporate Sally over here, and I'm working with blah 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 blah," and you're in a suit, profile photo, banner image is like power suit, and then all of a sudden they see you online and you've got your coloured hair. Where's your
Cosmo.
budgie? Yeah,
Yeah,
Cosmo.
Cosmo.
Where's
Yep.
Cosmo's on there? Like it, and this is what I see so many times, and there's this massive disconnect. So for me, when people are like thinking about it, I mean, regardless if it's LinkedIn, Facebook, whatever, right? It's a marketing strategy. But if we're talking LinkedIn, when you're thinking about LinkedIn and you've got your different components, you've got your profile, you've got the words on your profile that talk about you, your profile photo, then you've got your connection messaging, and then you might be utilizing something like this where we're putting video onto the profile. All of these little things are those micro yeses or nos, right? That people are going to make. Do I like you? Do I not? And like for me, as part of a sales process, I want people to say, no, I do not want to work with you, John, for whatever reason. I don't like you. You swear too much. You like Donald Trump. Like, whatever the reason is, I really don't care. But I want you to say no as quickly as you can in the sales process, because then it's a better decision for you, and it saves all of our time following up the wrong people, right?
Oh my
So
goodness,
this is why that
100% agree.
that authenticity in your message, needs to be from day dot, because you're building that brand integrity and that
Yeah.
bond. Yeah,
People are so
um,
scared to say no,
yeah,
right? They'd ghost you rather than just say no. That's why I always reply to people when they message me rather than them having to keep doing the thing if I'm
yeah,
definitely not interested. I ran the math on it once where I was like, back when I used to do the DMing and have to track all the, the time to get the leads,
mm,
how much time was wasted in the follow up when somebody, if they just said, I'm not interested, I could spend my
yeah,
time somewhere else. But I'm not going to give up following up if you don't say no. It's not hard to say no, but so many
yeah.
people just don't do that either. And so, anyone listening, like when people message you and you're not interested, just take a minute and say,
Just tell
thank
them.
you, but it's not the right fit for me, and be done. And then you won't keep getting the messages from those people. Other people are going to message you because they're running their business,
Yeah,
right? When we see that, like as people who are business owners, when we see that, I like want to pat them on the back and say, well done, you're doing your
yeah.
work. Um, so, I mean, a lot of LinkedIn is revolves around the messaging. So, how do you use
Mhm.
the messaging component to connect with people?
Yeah, so the messaging side of things, once again, it comes down to what are we looking to do, right? Who are we targeting, and all of those bits and pieces, and the probably the three most common ways, if we look at from a strategy perspective, it's like I am looking to connect with the end client. That's number one. So business to business, consumer. It's business to human, right? Human to human at the
Yeah.
end of the day. But like, who are we looking to connect with? The second one is typically, okay, my end client may or may not be as active on LinkedIn, but the people who can introduce me to those referral strategic partners, where are they on LinkedIn? How are they utilizing the platform? And then the third one, from that aspect, I'm going to leave that and I'm going to come back to that in a moment, because I want to talk about these two first, right? Because the third one's an interesting one, and it sort of overarches these things. So with the business to consumer or the end client, like really what it comes down to, number one, is you have to invest in LinkedIn. Okay, people, yeah, but it's a free platform. They should give me everything for free. No, they're a business. So you have to purchase Sales Navigator, period. If you are looking to generate a financial return off LinkedIn, fork out the $100 a month for Sales Navigator. It's going to save your life. And what I mean by that is actually reality, because it's going to save you hours upon hours every single week or month in wasted effort connecting with the wrong people. So Sales Navigator just helps you get that laser focus, that sniper-like accuracy, with who you want to go and connect with. Then the messaging side of things is, okay, well, how are we looking to first connect with these people? How do we make sure that we get the highest number of possible people accepting the connection request? And then what's the language? What's our process? How is LinkedIn going to bring people into our sales pipeline, into our sales process? So once again, it's this strategy. There's no one size fits all. It's like, do you sell by webinars? Are you driving people to a Facebook group? Is it just a call? What lead magnets do you have? All of those bits and pieces. But ultimately, we're looking to get quality engagement. We want to start conversations. If all the message did was kickstart a conversation, positively or negatively, it's done its job, right? We want people to engage in that. So when it comes to then your structure of the messages, we need to look at it. How is this conversational? Is this am I just pushing info out, or am I actually trying to establish a conversation and create that bond, right? So that's that first level. The second aspect is looking for, essentially, let's just call them strategic partnerships as an example. So once again, it's like, okay, well, what am I looking for? Well, I'm looking for strategic partnerships. Or Sally, let's just say this was your strategy, and I know this isn't anything we're doing right now, but we have this podcast, right? I want to blow this podcast up, and I'm now going to just go full time into podcasting. One of the quickest and smartest ways you can do this is leverage LinkedIn to go and get podcast guests. We did this for a marketing company in the US. We booked out 3 seasons of their podcast. So 3 seasons, they had like 20 episodes or whatever in each, within the space of about 3 weeks. And they literally went, they did it, they had the right strategy. Like, these are good quality marketers. Like, their clients spend a bucket load of cash with them, and rightfully so. And what they did was they actually looked at all of these conferences through the US, and they were like, who are these speakers? They might not be the keynote speaker, but who are these speakers within these certain industries that are like their just content is fantastic. Like, they know what they're talking about. They might not be famous or super well known. They could just be like a director of marketing for a company, but they're solid in their business. And we found them, put them on a spreadsheet, and went, let's go and identify and start connecting with these people. They had, I think it was a 3-part connection message. Connect. Hey, we know it was hyper personalized. We noticed that you were speaking at XYZ conference. I'm curious. We've got a podcast that helps XYZ. Is this something that you would be interested in attending, like, and being a guest on? And then if they didn't reply, they waited like 2 weeks, and then they sent them a follow up. Hey, just following on from my last message, I'm curious if this is something that you'd be interested in. Here is a link to one of our recent episodes, so you can just understand like the types of questions. Bang, people are coming back because they're speakers. They want to get on stage. So there's just a couple of strategies there. Once again, and then the overarching one that I was going to say, and it works on whether you are looking for strategic partners or if you're looking for that end consumer, is all of us, in my opinion, should be attending conferences and expos and all of
Yes.
those things, right? We should be. If we care enough about our business, our clients go to them. In most industries, I know there's going to be a handful that's not the norm, but I hear it all the time. I was at this accountancy business expo this week, right? I spoke to some exhibitors. Oh, this is terrible. It's not working. We've got no traffic. And I'm like, what have you done? What's been your strategy? Like, you've stood at a booth for 2 days and you've waved to people going by. Like, so the strategy here is, I know I am going to a location and these types of people are going to be there. Do a sales navigator search. You might not know specifically who's going to attend, but start connecting with people. Hey, are you going to be in Melbourne on these dates attending the accounting business expo? Yes or no? If you are there, maybe we could catch up. If we don't get to catch up, maybe we can organise a time to have a chat afterwards. Would that be something you're open to? Yes. We run this for ourselves, run this for a bunch of clients, and it's always a winner. It is always a winner.
For sure. And I love
Yeah,
how you can get so hyper focused with Sales Navigator to like the
yeah,
area, the industry. And I love that idea of, running a campaign just to make connections at the event. So they will pop to your booth, or they know you're there at the conference, because we spend a lot of money to go to these conferences as well. And so many people just, oh, well, it's on the calendar, I'm going. That's it.
yeah,
That's their strategy. I'm going to the
yeah.
conference.
I've
Maybe
got
I'll
some
hand
networking
out some
drinks.
business cards, and
Yeah,
hey, let's hope there's some drinks at the end of the night. But
yeah,
the strategy behind that, like when we go to a conference, we track it, right? We set up a certain place that we know this is how many leads are coming in from that event as well, because you want to utilize these events. And LinkedIn, I mean, most people, this is something I just wanted to share when you were saying how
yeah,
the people on LinkedIn are people, right? At the end of
yeah,
the day, they're people. And one of our clients that you helped and you were working with was Eva, and she's a yoga instructor, Pilates and yoga. And, you were saying to her that she goes, oh, but there's just corporate people over on LinkedIn. But corporate people are people,
yeah,
and people do exercise.
yeah. Yeah,
Right? And it's the same
yeah.
as like, I was thinking the other day, even
It's
about
just
our
CEOs.
breastfeeding clients, right?
Yeah.
Well, though my breastfeeding clients may work a job like most mums
What?
before.
You're
What?
kidding.
You're kidding? They don't just
Do they
grow
breathe?
up
They
and
breathe oxygen too.
yeah,
Like, yeah,
maybe. I'm pretty sure they do. So yeah, there are mums on LinkedIn as well.
yeah, yeah.
So
It's
yeah, it's funny how people have that perception that LinkedIn is just for the corporate people, and you really open my eyes to it's not. It's just humans. They're humans on
yeah.
there. Yeah.
So many people. Like, well, the client who's done like the 2.2 and the rest of the other stuff with all of that, um, they're they're in like manufacturing. Like they're not a typical LinkedIn corporate
Yeah.
person. They're not even connecting with the CEO. You know, they will do that at a
Yeah.
point, but that's not who they're connecting with. They want the maintenance people who are on the floor
Hmm.
overseeing, doing this day-to-day stuff, that are in there like having to change parts all the time because they've got these cheap quality crap parts that keep breaking.
Yeah.
And they're like, man, let's just come in. Like, we just want to connect with you. If you're open to it, we will fly or drive to your location, do a site visit, show us what the problem is. Let's have a chat. Oh, you want us to give you a quote on one item? No problems. That item could be $70 or a couple of hundred or whatever it might be. And yeah, our client says it all the time. She goes, I'm always quoting. Like, she goes, it drives me insane when salespeople don't want to quote on one item. Oh, it's too small, they won't do anything. And she goes, you invest that time and effort, you quoted on that one item, and now they're ordering 10,000 of those a year. You know, it's because they just wanted to see what type of person are you going to treat me like a human being? Are you going to treat me? You just focus so much on I've got to get the deal. You've got commission breath going out everywhere. You know, unless you're going to be my number one deal, I'm not going to talk to you. Guess what? You're not
So
going to be talking
true.
to me.
So
You
true.
know,
And
yeah,
you never know where somebody's going to be in 5 to 10 years. I
yeah,
mean, we had that discussion a little while ago about how some of your connections, years after being a connection, turn
hmm,
into great referrals and some into really high ticket clients. But it
yep,
wasn't when you first connected, it was that continuously following up when you fly to different areas, letting everyone know. Like, I knew you were flying to Melbourne because I got a message and an email
yep,
saying, hey, I'm coming to Melbourne. You know, based on my profile, I live in Melbourne, and you've sent it out a message to everyone who is you're connected with in Melbourne. I
yep.
mean, fabulous, just fabulous. And that's what's
It's
fabulous
just
about
that little bit
LinkedIn.
of thought, right? It's just that
Yeah.
little bit of thought and that little bit of care. And like I get it, people's schedules are tight. Mine was ridiculous the last few days, um, but we make the effort. And like for me, like we had a lunch with some of our clients. Unfortunately, I know you weren't there. You had to be in Sydney. But yeah, we had like three of our other clients there out of a bunch. They were the three that could make it, and it turned out perfectly because the three that were there, the amount of connected business that these three people could do, like we're talking tens of millions of dollars. Like, no BS. That is easily the amount of business that they could cross refer to each other through their networks. Like, they know so many people that could work with each of them. It's insane. So I'm like, guys, you need to be talking. Like, what are you doing? Who do you need to be connected with? All of that. Like, it's ridiculous.
Yeah, it's
And
so so
what do I get
powerful.
out of that? Well, like you know, they're coaching clients of mine, and like for me, and I know Sally, it's the same with you. Like for me, if all I see is my coaching clients take action
Hmm.
consistently and they continue to move forward to their goals, it's fantastic. Like
That's it.
like I said, the client I was on before, he's using Keep, and he was like, John, for the life of me, I can't work out how to charge this credit card. It's just not working. So I jumped into his Keep app and I helped him process a $2,500 payment. I'm like, mate, fantastic. Hopefully it arrives by Monday in your bank account.
Yeah.
Like, and he's like, hopefully it's tomorrow. You know, it'll be good for the weekend because it's in the US. But it's just that, like for me, it's like he took the initiative. He's like, hey, I'm bringing on clients. We're doing a process, but this thing here, it's stumping me. I've been trying to do it. Do you know how to do it? Can you just help me? And I'm like, yeah, let's jump on Zoom for 15 minutes. Like, that is for what I did is so far out of the scope of where I'm actually helping him in his business. But of course I'm going to help him. Like
Yeah,
he's another human being. He's a client of mine.
exactly.
I want to, like, he's taking the action. I want to help him. Yeah.
This is why we get on so well, because we go
Yeah.
above and beyond. Like, there are some people I've worked with, and you just ask them to come and, attend one of your live events. We got to pay me. Or can you come and speak? We got to pay me. And, we help each other,
Hmm.
right? Like, you do come in and teach inside our community, but you're always there to put your hand up and say, hey, Sal, do you need help? Do you want me
Yeah.
to come to this thing? And it's because it's for the greater good, right? We know
Yeah.
that if we help each other, it's going to come back in other ways. And
It's there, right?
jumping onto the call and helping people. I mean, you're in the Slack channel with our clients and you'll read their documents and things. It's supposed, a lot of it's usually kept for your coaching session, but you go above and beyond to help them, which I
Yeah.
think is it's a huge part of our brand values.
Yeah.
And that's why I think we
Well,
get
it's
on
good.
so,
It's
so well.
yeah. I mean, it's like, but like you and I both know, if we help our clients succeed, oh, it's going to end badly. Of course, of course. What, they're not going to renew.
Yeah,
They're not going
exactly.
to. They're not going to be. Their family's not going to be financially better off. Their kids aren't going to have better conversations with mum and dad because they're more successful. It's the kids aren't going to go on and experience great things in their life. Mum and dad aren't going to be hopefully not as stressed as what they were a couple of months ago. Like, I just sit there and I go, and then somewhere down the track, someone goes, what happened here? Hey, you went from here to here, or you did these things. Oh, John helped me, or Sally helped me, or something like that. That's the ultimate thing. That's why, like, I was working at Selmat from 1999. That's a little while ago now, right? I still talk about Anne McEachen. I was knocking on doors selling Optus phone systems. Anne McEachen was the state manager of the direct mail part of Selmat at that time. She rang me 2 days later and I was shitting bricks. I was sitting there going, great. She wants to cancel her order. I'm going to lose like $200 or $300 in commission. Fantastic. But took the call and she's like, John, I really liked your manner. I really liked how you came around. You were quite professional. She goes, I was actually quite shocked that somebody like you was knocking on doors, but good on you for doing it. She goes, I'm curious, is this something that you want to do with the rest of your life, or do you want to go into a corporate career? And I'm like, well, I am getting at the point where I'm getting a bit sick of it. And she was like, well, John, I've got, I'm the director or state director of this company, blah, blah, blah. The role's not with my division, but I reckon I could get you an interview at least. And she goes, I just want to be clear, it's probably going to be paying you a hell of a lot less than what you're earning now. And you're probably going to have to work a hell of a lot harder. So she's really selling it to me.
Yeah,
But
great.
it'll be a really great step from a career perspective. I always, if I'm speaking on stage, I always talk about Selmat, and the same thing with Bill Pollock from Drake International. I was the global recruitment manager. I wanted some more money and all of those, like as we always do in an employee land. And I resigned just because I wasn't getting what I thought I was valued at the time. Bill Pollock rang me up. He doesn't need to call me at all. Like, he's the owner of the bloody company. Like, he doesn't need to call me. He goes, John, you're in Brisbane, right? And I'm like, yes. And this was Easter Thursday. And he goes, I'm in Melbourne all this weekend before I fly out. I'm going to organise for a plane ticket for you to come down if you're open to it and spend the weekend with me in Melbourne and tell me what's wrong with my company. This is like Bill calling me doing this because I'd resigned. And
Yeah.
I was married at the time, and I turned to Emma, and I'm like, she's like, get on the plane, like, and I'm like, so I spent 3 days or something like that with Bill in Melbourne. He's just, man, talk about his mind working. I think he's a statistician by trade, but his ability to crunch the numbers, and that's why I'm all about the math.
Yeah.
Like, his ability to crunch those numbers, and it's unbelievable. We went out, like, this is a guy who loves connecting with people. That's his whole job, is being a connector. We went out for dinner. I know I'm rambling here, but it's
No,
really important.
I definitely, it's great.
We went out to dinner, and the waitress came up to us, or the hostess, whatever we want to call them nowadays, came up to us and was serving us. And Bill just struck up a conversation. Oh, what do you do? Blah blah. And she goes, oh, I'm doing my accountancy degree. I'm about to graduate. Blah 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 blah. And he goes, oh, I'm curious. Have you got a job lined up yet, or are you looking to, like, I don't know, do you own this, or are you looking to stay being away? And she goes, no no no, I'm trying to get a graduate role. Blah blah blah. And he's like, well, here's my card. Give me a call tomorrow. I'll be in the office at 10 a.m. This was Easter Saturday. And she goes, but tomorrow's Sunday. And he goes, yeah, give me a call tomorrow. I'll be in the office at 10 a.m. And she's like, really? And he's like, yeah, myself and John are doing some things over the weekend, blah, 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 blah,
Yep.
blah. 10:01, this lady calls up. His assistant answers the phone. Bill has a 5-minute conversation with her, like invests the time to go, what are you looking for? Boom, boom, boom. Passes the phone back to his assistant and gets her in on Monday or on Tuesday, I think, when the team were back, to do an interview so they could go and try and put her out and get her a job. Like, oh, but he only did that because there's financial return in there. Of course, he's not an idiot. Like, that's how he makes his money. But he actually cares,
Yeah.
And this is like, so all of those little bits
Big
and pieces come
difference.
back to me with LinkedIn. It's like, these are people that actually go above and beyond. And for them, it's not even going above and beyond. It's just them being them.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's what, anyway, that's what I love. And that's what I like to
Ah,
bring to life and
I
LinkedIn
love
and all
that.
those things.
I love that. I
Yeah.
was actually sitting and talking with one of our staff members yesterday, and she was saying how she loves how inside the Sparkle world we just love to help. And she's like,
Yeah.
"You're never getting rid of me. I'm staying forever." She says, because she sees what I do, just going above and beyond and constantly helping and getting up early, or just doing, not because I'm forced to and not because there's a monetary return. Sometimes there's no extra return, well, most of the time there's
Yeah.
no extra return than the
Yeah.
original contract. And then she says to me, and the reason why I'm saying Sally is because who's helping Sally? And I was like, oh, because she
Yeah.
sees what we do and how much we really believe and trust that our process works, but we really want them to succeed. At the end of the day,
Yeah.
that's the most important thing.
Yeah.
This week, we actually had a client, a $25,000 client, who we had been working with. She had realized that the way we were setting things up, we came to the conclusion that it's not the way her business wants to go.
Yeah.
And I really wanted her to be successful. I knew if we implemented this strategy, it was going to be successful. She knew that it would be successful. However, there was one piece of software that she was like, I just don't want to use that piece of software. And I'm like, well, come and see me when you're ready, because I know that these two pieces of software need to go together. She goes, oh, I know they need to go together.
Yeah.
But what's happening at the moment is she's teaching one piece of software and showing them that they don't need any other software. And she felt that if she brought on this other piece of software that she knew was going to be better, that
Yeah.
it was like she's lying to her clients.
Yeah.
And I'm like, cool. Well, do you feel that you have gotten value from all the strategy sessions? Do you feel you've got value? Because she said she'd been in this situation before, knowing that she needed this other piece of software and then not following through. She said she got lots of value. We're still going to finish building out the rest of her funnel for her, just in the software. So we've got to, tweak it
Yeah.
slightly differently. And, she's already paid us maybe a quarter of what she owed.
Yeah.
And I'm not going to stay with her if I'm not going to get the results I know I can get if she's not open to that. Now, I could have 100%, she'd signed a contract, made
Yeah.
her stay and pay.
Yeah.
But I wouldn't do that. People have done that to me, and I've
Yeah.
hated that. It's been the wrong fit, and I paid $30,000 for a coach, and it was the wrong fit. And he's like, "Well, you paid the money, you get nothing back." And I'm like, "But I've only been with you for a month,
Yeah.
and I haven't really done anything. Like what the strategies you're using, and the time zone just doesn't work." And I thought to myself, I was in that situation, and I didn't need him to pay everything back, just a little bit.
Yeah.
And it ended on, with her, great terms. I can see that
Yeah.
there's bigger things in our future together, because her clients will outgrow the software eventually, and hi,
Yeah.
I'm over here with the software that's going to take you to the next level. But I think continuously looking out for their best interest. I could have just been like, I could have got the sale if I really wanted it, but I'm not
Yeah.
going to bring somebody in that isn't aligned to where I want to take them.
Yeah.
And I think it's just in all, decency as a human. But not everyone's like that, though, in business, are they? They're all about, some people are. I've come
People
across
are
it with
just
a
about
couple
the
of big
Benjamins, as they
purchases.
say. Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah.
I've
Yeah.
come across it with some of the big coaches that I've worked with that wouldn't even be open to a conversation of how can we make this benefit both of us without both of
Yeah.
us getting angry at each other.
Yeah.
We're off on some sort of tangent there.
No, but it's true, and this is like okay. Let's bring it right back to LinkedIn and all of that. We
Yeah.
spoke about being authentic, right? And
Mm.
this is the thing. So whether it's a LinkedIn connection message, whether it's follow up messages, a video, a blog that you publish on LinkedIn, maybe you're doing LinkedIn ads, and we've got heaps of people that we can help around that side of things as well. Whatever it is, you've just like I'm only good at being me. I'm pretty
Mm.
crap and shit house at being not John.
Yeah.
I'm happy with being me.
Yeah.
I understand that I'm an acquired taste. Majority of people probably won't like me. Oh
Same
well,
as me. It's
enjoy
all
your
good.
life.
Yeah.
It's all good. I'm happy doing what I'm doing. Like I'm not looking for friends. Friends seem to happen, through the process, but I'm not looking for more friends, if that makes sense from that. It's not like
Yeah,
I
it's
don't
how
want
can we
friends. It's like,
collaborate
yeah,
with people
yeah,
to make life better for more people? That's how
yeah,
I like to like if I'm working with somebody, how can we work together in a collaborative way that makes a bigger impact, not just
yeah,
to our pockets, but how
yeah,
can we work together to help other people? I think is so important. I,
yeah,
I want to get you back
absolutely.
because I know we have a hard
Okay.
stop
Yep.
because you've got to, do adulting
I've got to
and,
pick up my daughter. Sorry.
yeah,
Yeah.
you got to do some adulting. But before we finish up, I do want to do the sparkle questions because I would love to
Okay.
get you back to talk about like the paid side of
Hmm.
LinkedIn for another episode.
Yep.
But I've got the sparkle questions Ma always gets me to ask. So when you were young, what did you want to be and how does it show up for you today?
Yeah, cool. So I wanted to be one of two things: was either a police officer or in the defence force. That was my goal. And if something happened tomorrow and they said, John, you need to enlist, it would be like, okay, let's go. It's just something that I've always
Yeah.
wanted to do, but they wouldn't let me medically, which
Mm.
you know your loss, Australian Defence Force. So so that's been there for ever since I can imagine. Yeah.
Yeah. And what about three books that have been a big inspiration to you?
Yeah, cool. So, three books. How to Make One Hell of a Profit and Still Go to Heaven by John DeMartini is a fantastic book. If you haven't done DeMartini's Breakthrough Experience, highly recommend that one.
Okay, cool.
The second one is Total Money Makeover, which is a fantastic book as well. I'm trying to think what the guy's name is off the top of my head. He's like the highest syndicated podcast in Dave Ramsey
Oh, yeah,
from the
yeah.
US. Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
And one that I'm reading right now, which is actually really, really, really good. Can I give you four?
Yeah, sure. Sure,
Yeah, all
sure.
right, cool. Third one is Traction from Gino Wickman. Yeah, I know you know that one. That's fantastic. Yeah, so that's all business processes and stuff. And the fourth bonus one, I've got to do this for Steve Plummer, the influential marketer. So Steve's just put
Yeah.
this book out. It's like 2 weeks old, maybe,
Yeah.
and it's got 366 cracking copywriting, marketing, and mindset ideas to skyrocket your results one day at a time.
Oh,
But
awesome.
it's a really like they're just one day read and implement
Yeah.
scenarios. Fantastic book.
Oh, cool.
Yeah. So you got
So
four.
good. Yeah, there we go. Four,
Yeah.
four. All right.
Yeah.
So we've just started a new segment in the show and it's called Fast Talk with Sally.
Okay.
All right. So let's fast talk our way out of today's episode. I'm going to ask you a question and you've got to give me a quick answer and then I
Okay.
might have a follow up question from it. So, question number one, sending LinkedIn messages or connection requests? Which one is better?
Connection request.
Yeah. Why?
Because you can't send a message unless you're connected.
There you go.
Yeah.
Sponsored ads or content marketing on LinkedIn?
Depending on strategy, but I would go with sponsored ads
Yeah, yeah. Why?
because you're driving direct lead generation.
Yeah, definitely. Personal profiles or company profiles, pages?
Definitely start with personal.
Yeah. And
Yeah,
why?
and then go. Well, so you're directly connecting with the individual.
Mm-hmm.
Company page is the following. So if you're doing paid ads,
Mm-hmm.
company page, but it always starts with a personal profile.
Mm-hmm. LinkedIn text ads or LinkedIn dynamic ads?
Dynamic text as a shit. Yeah,
LinkedIn video content or written content?
or video content by far, but I would
Yeah.
also translate it or whatever they call it, transcribe it into written content.
Oh, that's good because that's what I do.
Yeah,
LinkedIn recommendations or LinkedIn endorsements?
Recommendations by far.
Yeah, why?
Recommendations are like a Google review.
Uh-huh.
Endorsements are a click of a button. John does digital marketing. It's
Right,
like,
yep.
woo. Yeah,
Mm-hmm. LinkedIn Analytics or Google Analytics?
Google Analytics.
Yeah, better for traffic and all the other things,
1,000
right?
times better. Doesn't even
Yeah.
compare.
LinkedIn
Yeah.
Learning or LinkedIn Events?
I'd go events. Like if you're a business trying to drive leads, run events. Like
Mm-hmm.
LinkedIn Learning's there for you to learn stuff. But yeah,
Yeah, but run
yeah,
events, yeah.
yeah.
LinkedIn Posts or LinkedIn Articles?
Ooh, I definitely think combination. If I would go so for 99% of people, posts.
Uh-huh. Yeah.
Yeah. If
Okay.
you have a content strategy, articles, and then your posts, you want them to drive back to your articles that then go to some type of landing page.
Awesome. A dog or a cat person?
Dog. Yeah.
Okay, cool. We've had
Yeah.
two dog
Yeah.
people on today. Awesome.
Yeah.
I'm a
Yeah.
dog girl. Sorry, you just
Is
checking.
that
Just
even a
checking.
question?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I know, right? Especially for us dog lovers. What's your favorite color?
Blue. And
Blue.
I'm
We had
colorblind.
you.
And
Oh,
I'm
you are
colorblind.
too. You are
Yeah.
too.
So it could be purple. I don't know.
Who knows? It's definitely purple. I tell you now.
Yeah. Yeah.
Everything's
Yeah.
purple. Excellent. Well, thank you, John. Thank you, Mar, as well, for coming up with the
Thanks, Mark.
questions, because I just had an idea, like a shower thought the other night, and I'm like, oh, fast questions, like straight talk. Let's do fast questions, fast talk with
Yeah.
Sally, and so she just come up with some questions for us. So she's
Well,
awesome. We
great
love
questions.
our amazing podcast manager to really give you something to think about on your feed as well, right?
Love it. It's fantastic.
Yeah, so good. And she kept it content relevant, because when I came up with the idea, I was thinking to myself, hang on, Jenny's just saying here, boo, cats rule. You're lucky I love you, Jenny. Awesome. Well, thank you so much, John. Now, if anyone wants to find out more about you, normally I'll say to people, where do you hang out? But where do you hang out, John? And where can people go check out stuff about you?
Well, if I'm not on the beach, it's on LinkedIn. So, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah, so just John Bellamy on LinkedIn. I'm sure, Sally, you've got a link there somewhere that you can share if need be.
Yeah, we'll throw it in the show notes as well. Thank you so much for today, John. I know you've got a dash to get out to pick up your daughter and do that adulting, but thank you everyone who joined us today. We have had a really great lineup of guests today. So if you missed who we had earlier, we had some Canva. Some awesome Canva. So we've got actually Roger Coles, who has committed to coming in and being a Sparkle guest expert inside the Sparkle world. So that's exciting. We locked him in. So he'll be teaching inside of our community for us later this year for a whole month. John's always in the community there supporting with his LinkedIn strategy. It's been super fun implementing LinkedIn over the last few months with John. But thank you everyone for joining us. If you have not yet done so, make sure you do subscribe to Dr. Sparkle so you don't miss any of the notifications. And our batching days are always broadcast live here on YouTube, repurposed and spread all over the place later as well. And you can see all of our live events from this sparkleclassacademy.com/calendar. That's all the events outside of the podcast, all the other great stuff that we do for free here inside the Sparkle world. But thank you so much, John. I'll let you dash off to get your daughter. I'll catch up with you probably during the week, next week.
Absolutely. Thanks again,
Awesome.
Sally. Appreciate it.
You're welcome. All right, bye, guys. Thank you so much, everyone, for joining us. You can go back and catch all the replays. Just head on over to our YouTube channel.
I will not bow down. Keep putting me off, I'm not gonna change my mind. Your head's strong forward, but this time around